everybody to the Metal Block. We are so excited to have you here with us. Like always, another fun week. This is actually episode number 40, which is totally insane to me. I was thinking about it and I was like, we've actually done 40 episodes. So I did a little fun fact and I was like, how many episodes do podcasts usually do? So I found out on average, and this was just quick Google search. You know, you do the Google search and it brings up the where Google's already searched all the websites and it's found the answer for you. I guess their little AI thing, and it said 50. It said 50 was the average. That seemed like such a round number. I was like, I don't know. I mean, is that even true? But whatever. So we're not even there yet. We're not even there. So everybody, don't count us out. We're at least going to hang on for another 10 episodes before we get kicked off the podcast world. Who knows? But we're having fun right now, and we're going to make the best of it. So, another great episode. Everybody go check out social media. We've got them all of them. So go check them out. They're all under the Metal Block. And then we have the email metalblocktalks@gmail.com. You can email us directly. I see that every day. Brando sees it every day. So, you'll probably get a response that very same day. As long as we're not bombarded, right, Brandon?
Yeah, I'm seeing all those emails that we're not getting.
Nobody's talking to us, but it's cool.
No.
It's there. If you want to, we would love to hear from you. So shoot us an email or message us on social media. Interact with us. Tell us what you're listening to. Maybe it's something we would like to hear as well. So with that, I'm actually going, interviewing, right? That's what we've been doing. We've been having fun with it. We're going to keep doing it. We take a break every now and then and review an album, but this seems to be, what we have the most fun doing. And so another great one here today. We actually have Jade Day with us. And Jade, take a second and say, what's up?
Hi. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. We're so excited. Thank you for being on the show. And Jade, just so you guys know, Jade did a last minute switch because we had something kind of change on us, and she was like, "Yeah, we'll jump on the show later today. That'd be great." So thanks for being flexible. Thanks for hanging with us. And so Jade, she oversees L&D Productions, and what does L&D Productions do? Well, they put on a lot of really awesome shows. They're in the Houston area, but that geographic location doesn't really limit them. They're always trying to do lots of fun stuff everywhere. So Brando, Question Meister, he's with us today. He's going to get us going with it, and we are going to learn all we can learn about L&D Productions. Thanks, Jade.
You're welcome.
Jade, how's it going?
Going well. How about you?
Doing good. Thank you for joining us this evening.
Thanks for having me.
Well, we'll start by telling everybody L&D Productions is putting on a kick-ass brutal death metal festival coming up, and you have been so kind as to let us be some official sponsors, and we are very excited to be a part of it. So would love to talk to you a bit about the festival and how it came to be, how we're setting it up, how does all this work, the in and outs of bringing entertaining events to the masses.
Oh man. Well, I mean, it honestly started probably 2 years ago. Me and my husband Matt Day, we decided that we wanted to start a production company. I know he kind of gave you a little bit of background on the last interview that you guys did with him. It just started off as an idea. L&D Productions is Landry Day Productions, and it basically just started off as the love for music. It was never about starting an empire over it, obviously, but after establishing a name for ourselves in the music scene here in Houston, we started making a lot of friends. And one of our friends ended up being Edward Spear down in Corpus Christi. And he actually was a big part of Beatdown booking down there, which was a huge name in Corpus Christi, which still is. I can't remember the name, the guy who actually owns Beatdown, but I know Edward has gone independent at this point. This will be the fourth year that Gulf Coast is going to be happening, and the second year that it's happening here in Houston. Last year, it was presented to us as a partnership where he was going to let us help plan the event, and it ended up being where he kind of was going through some things last year, and we didn't ask any questions, but we we kind of just took one look at the lineup that he had set up, and Matt was like, yeah, we gotta do something with this. I mean, we had Cephalotripsy headlining, and we had Stages of Decomp on that. I was like, this is a lot of good names on this bill, so let's figure out what we can do here. Um, so we presented the idea of having Gulf Coast Deathfest here in Houston at the Pub 529 where I bartend, and he loved the idea. And once I presented it over to the owner, Bino, who owns the Pub 529, he was like, "Sure, let's do it." And it ended up being a huge success last year, and it was so much so where Edward decided to hand it over again this year. Not necessarily hand it over because he is going to be more involved this year. And we're going to do it again at the Pub 529. And it's going to be, I'm hoping, even better than last year. So that's kind of how that came about.
Awesome. I've never been to Pub 529, so like, is it like outdoor, indoor, mix? Like, is this a pretty big place?
Honestly, you are probably in for a treat because, in my opinion, the Pub 529 is probably one of the most underrated venues in Houston. It's a little smaller on the inside, but it has a huge back patio. And the way it kind of came about, even having the idea of putting a festival on there, is that we had Cenotaph from Turkey do one of our first L&D shows. And it was actually Batu's idea because he was like, why you not put Death Metal Festival here? And I was like, you're right. We should put Death Metal Festival here. So honestly, that's kind of, I mean, I have to give him a little bit of credit for that. But as far as the bar goes, I mean, I think it's probably one of the best venues you can have because the alcohol is cheap. You can fit over, I think the capacity is 1,500 people. And I mean, it's on the
Yeah.
northwest side of Houston, which is a little more on the outside of the Houston city limits. So not a lot of people are really comfortable driving all the way out there. But I mean, if you put on a good show, people are going to come no matter what. So,
Yeah, I
Okay.
was I was actually about to say like there's so many little shows, festival things. I say little, not little, but festivals that are in like the woods in Arkansas, and people make it out there to see them, and
yeah.
stuff, and not disrespecting Arkansas or those festivals, just saying that they don't have to be near people, and sometimes, especially if they're like multi-day events and stuff, and people can like put a tent up or do something like that, like they're all about it. And so, I like what you said about not trying to build an empire. Not because I don't think we should have ambition and that we should try to, drive for those kind of great things, but really just more so because that to me is how I always know like where the passion of the project comes from, is yeah, this person is obviously has a love for it because they don't really care if they make a whole bunch of money at it, and if you do, that's great, or whatever, if it turns into something cool, but in the meantime, we just like meeting people and hanging out. And so I thought that was a really neat point to what you said. It just kind of showed to me like most of the people that like really do well at what they're doing, it's because they just love doing it. And so that's just kind of one of the things I gathered from your short little intro. And it's just stood out to me, and I like that. More people doing stuff in the music industry should be that way because then we would be able to enjoy so much more.
Yeah, I can tell you right now, if you're in it for the money, you're in the wrong business because there's no money in brutal death metal.
Yeah, and especially death metal, especially death metal. I mean, that's so true. Like, I guess there's been nobody who's been like, I'm gonna be a millionaire playing death metal.
I
Even
mean,
even the
yeah,
big bands didn't. For one, they're not making millions, maybe, and two, they didn't even expect to ever be as big as they are.
yeah, I mean, there's been a couple. there's been a handful of shows where we've been profitable on, but I mean, we're talking about maybe taking home $100 after a show, after we've paid everybody. But I mean, honestly, we don't do it for the money. We do it from more of a fan base than anything, because at this point, we're in a position where we can actually be more mindful and choose the bands that we want to host. There are some where we'll be like, you know what, we know them, we love them, let's go ahead and host them. But at the end of the day, we get to be more picky with who we choose to come through town and host them as well. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely not about the money, and you definitely have to love the music that you're dealing with. Because I can tell you right now, I mean, I won't book just anybody, especially if I don't know anything about them. So yeah, I mean, it's gotten a lot easier over time to be more selective, and getting the big tour package offers, and it's been quite a ride actually.
Oh yeah, what's the biggest tour package you've been offered?
Goodalax.
Yeah.
Goodalax, and honestly, that's probably one of the funnest shows I've had, because I mean, it didn't even take a lot of advertising. It was a very smooth sailing production, and just like any other promoter, you always wonder how many people are actually come through the door. So having that show, I think it was on a Monday. We were a little apprehensive about accepting the tour package at first, because we're like, man, how many people actually want to come see Goodalax on a Monday? Who wants to go to a freaking show on the weekday in the first place? So whenever we were offered that show by Miguel, who actually put on TDF, it was kind of like a no brainer, because I love Goodalax. Like, I didn't give a shit whether five people showed up. I am gonna be at the front row, doing my
There you
little
go.
dance no matter what. So we ended up packing out the house. I think I sold over 150 tickets to that show, and the turnout was incredible. So that had to been like a big, big blessing for me, because not only did I get to have Goodalax here for the first time, I think that might have been their first appearance in the U.S. actually. So I was pretty proud of myself for putting that show on and doing as well as we did. We paid everybody. Everybody had a good time. Everybody was drunk at the end of the night. So it was great.
Heck yeah, that's awesome. That's really cool. So, being that you're in that part of the industry, I'm curious. All of the Houston shows are on a Monday or a Thursday. Why is that? Do you know? Is it just where we fit in the grand scheme of things on tour routes?
I can only go based on what I know, and having a very small part in planning a tour myself. I mean, it's really just about where these tour routes end up, as far as like what makes sense. Where are the cities where they have a draw? Where if it's not going to make sense for somebody to stop in El Paso if they don't have a draw there. So let's find a city where where it will make sense till we get to the next city. Because at the end of the day, these bands have to get from point A to point B. And to get from point A to point B, you got to get paid for it. So you want to make the most of those opportunities when they're presented. So a lot of times, they're going to fall on a weekday.
Yeah.
It's just even with the bigger tour packages. I mean, I can tell you a million times where a band that I've wanted to see is playing at Scout Bar. I live in Katy. I don't want to fucking drive to Scout Bar, but you know what? I want to see that band. So I'm gonna drive to Scout Bar on a Tuesday at 6 o'clock in mid traffic to go see them. So that's just how it is at the end of the day.
Yeah, I can relate to that. I live in Missouri City,
Oh
so everything's either
yeah.
Scout Bar or White Oak or like this pub 529. That's going to be a hike for me. I think I went to see Aborted at BFE Rock Club back in like 2019. It
Yeah.
was with them and Hideous Divinity and Cryptopsy and Benighted. Actually, was a super killer tour, but I actually lost my glasses in Aborted's encore, the song "The Carnage Done," which they do 100% of the time. But like Oh man, that scared shit out of me because I was like, man, I'm so far away from home and I
I don't
cannot
think back
see.
then Uber existed either.
Well, the sound guy found my glasses under his table. I lost them during a little heavy headbanging session, but yeah. So like, I mean, being in Houston is huge. So like, it's like
Yeah,
it doesn't really matter where you live. You're driving somewhere, you know.
it takes an hour to get from Houston to Houston, no matter what direction you go in. I mean, I work
Exactly.
10 miles away and it still takes me an hour to get home. So, it's just it's part of living in the big city and living in a place where everybody wants to come for some reason. Um, yeah, we can advertise one thing: stop moving here. So,
Yeah. From California, my
yeah,
Texas.
quit it. It's cool. Move to Oklahoma.
There you go, Zoomy. You'll take them, right?
This was already happening, man. All these drivers that I've seen driving around rolling stop signs, and I was like, where did all these stop sign rollers come from? And then I go down and see Brando down in Houston for a couple of days, and I was like, oh,
Yeah,
they all came from Houston, is where they came from. I was like, do you guys not stop at stop signs?
and
I had I had to tell them if you stop for too long, you don't get to go. Like everyone else is just gonna go. If you stop, you don't go anymore. You're done for the day. Just
It's like you lost your turn, and now you can't get
yeah.
back in front of the line.
Just make sure you have full coverage and uninsured auto motorists, because, yeah, we had to learn that one the hard way. I can't believe that's even a thing now.
Is it state law in Texas to have auto insurance?
Yes, I thought it was a law everywhere.
Maybe it is.
Yeah.
Maybe it
Yeah.
is. I
Yeah,
just know that, yeah, you're right. A lot of people still drive around without insurance.
well,
Yeah,
it's
I mean,
unaffordable at this point, so,
yeah,
yeah, we're
Yeah,
definitely in the wrong industry, guys.
right. Yeah, I moved here in 2016, and we've been like between me and my wife, we've been involved in two hit and runs, like like where they hit us and ran. I made the stupid decision. Luckily, it worked out, but I went after them and got the guy to pull over. So like, but that probably shouldn't have done that in hindsight. But
Yeah, you never know who you might, get in a tough with, so.
Yeah,
Might as
especially
yeah,
in Texas, you know?
everybody's packing.
Yeah, everybody likes to, stand their ground in Texas. So
All right. Well, Jade, I am curious. When you are putting together something like the Gulf Coast Death Fest, I'm curious how it starts. Like, do you start with a date and a club, or do you start with, hey, most bands are available this day? Like,
Oh man, I wish Edward was here to answer that question, because to be honest with you, I have not actually put together a full lineup on my own. I have been responsible for booking certain bands, but honestly, starting from scratch has been all Edward. He's the one that has been coming up with, booking the bands, and he starts this process shortly after the Gulf Coast, the previous Gulf Coast ends. Like, he's starting that process because at that point, like, everybody's hitting him up for the next year. Last year, I got a bunch of emails asking for a spot on this year, and of course, like, I had to hand the reins back to him, so it wasn't really up to me this year. But I did help book a few bands for this year, and a lot of them were I tried to book the main headliner, which is Visceral Disgorge. Huge fan of Visceral Disgorge. And I booked, obviously, one of my other favorite bands, Architectural Genocide.
all right, yeah,
A
I'm
little
excited about
biased.
that.
Oh man, you're in for a treat. I don't know if you've seen them live yet, but
No,
I'm not just saying this as the wife of the bass player, but they are by far one of my favorite brutal death metal bands. One of my first favorites. So I mean, yeah, I was pretty proud of myself for booking that band, because I got the hook up on that. But yeah, starting from scratch has not been something that I've done yet, which I'm definitely looking forward to doing next year. Gulf Coast won't be my last project. Where we've already got something in the works for next year, that we're gonna try to make as big as we possibly can, which is not saying a whole lot because the person who did it the best was Miguel from TDF, Texas Domination Fest, where he just brought in all the main killers that we all know and love, and I can't imagine even trying to attempt to top that. So,
Yeah, that was huge this year,
oh
though.
man.
I wish I could have gone. I think you and Matt went, right?
Yeah, Matt played a back-to-back set for that, so I was lucky enough to be able to participate in that. But I'm also really good friends with Miguel too. We had a lot of correspondence last year with a number of different things, and I even got a little bit of insight into how he booked certain bands. But it's all a really long process, especially when you're dealing with the bigger bands that have been around for longer, because at that point they're dealing with management. Management can take weeks to get back to you, and sometimes when they do get back to you, they're not necessarily answering your question, or it's just a lot of back and forth that a lot of it can be solved over the phone, but who has the time for that? They're dealing with 20, 30 bands, sometimes maybe 100 bands on their roster. So, responding back to my email for my little fest is, you know, number 20 on their list of things to do. So, um, it's quite a process, and it does take a lot of organization and making sure you have a paper trail, because I can't even begin to tell you about last year and how many people were like, "Oh, well, I thought I was getting paid this, but there's no correspondence here, so we got to kind of renegotiate the price here." And you know, it can be a very big headache, and a lot of people don't see that side. All they have to worry about is going to the show and enjoying themselves, and that's really what my main goal is. I don't want anybody to know what the struggle was.
Right.
All I want is for them to show up, have the best time of their life, and talk about it for weeks after. That's my goal, as far as being a promoter. So, I mean, yeah, to answer your question, I have not started a lineup on my own yet, but I plan on it, and I'll let you know on the next episode.
All right. Well, if you had to guess like that, I mean, because you're getting ready to start, you're starting to put something together yourself. So, in your opinion, with your experience, would you start with a date or a place with an available date, and then, or do you just start reaching out like, yeah, let's do a survey?
Well, I try. Well, as far as like the group of promoters that we all are very close knit. Like, of course, you have Miguel in Dallas. You have Les in South Dakota. I can't even remember which Dakota she lives in, but she runs Slam Dakota. I have Saul from Stages of Decomp that runs. I think it's San Diego Death Fest, or oh, he's gonna kill me for this. Los Angeles Death Fest. Yeah, he's gonna. He expects that. And then we have a couple other promoters. Thick Neck, he used to do Texas Domination Fest. That was in Haltom. So we all kind of know each other, and we all kind of try to be mindful of all the different fests that are coming around. So if I'm going to pick a date, I'm going to think about, when Les is doing her fest, when Miguel decides to do TDF again. I'm going to be mindful of all those dates. But then at the same time, like, if there's another fest that's going on up north, it's not gonna really do anything as far as me throwing a fest in the south, because it's you're talking about a fan base that expands throughout the entire United States that has an option to pick and choose. So
For sure.
yeah, picking a date is actually very, very important. But since I know so many promoters that do fest, it's really easy to make sure that you plan around it. Gulfcoast Deathfest is typically in March. It will always be in March. So if I plan my own thing, it's probably going to be in a different month. Um, but I haven't actually got that far yet. So,
Okay. Fair enough. Yeah. Man. Let's see. So, of the bands on Gulf Coast Death Fest, I imagine you're probably familiar with a lot of them. Is there one that you're? I know you said Visceral Discord. You're a huge fan of. Are there any others that you're just like maybe you haven't seen yet that you're just kind of like, oh, this is gonna be pretty cool. Like I'm looking
um,
forward to seeing these guys.
Forgive me if I say this wrong, but there's these guys out of Atlanta. I think it's either Genormity or Gonormity. I don't know how to pronounce them. I've never heard of them actually until I actually posted them for our Gulf Coast post of the day. And I listened to their entire track. They're really, really good. And I'm really looking forward to seeing them. Matt played with them when he was on tour and didn't even realize that they were on Gulf Coast until he actually saw the post. And I've seen Necessary Death before, but I'm extremely excited to see them. They are, I think they're grindcore or some kind of grind. There's always
Yeah, they. I noticed. Whenever you share a band that's coming on, I like to share your posts, and then I've
yeah.
started a little
Thank you for
playlist
that,
for
by the way.
myself of all. Oh, of course. I've started a Gulf Coast Deathfest 4 playlist for myself. So as you're sharing bands, I'm going and getting their music and making a little playlist for myself so I can get familiar with everybody that
That
I'm
is
not already familiar
awesome.
with. So trying to be super ready to have a great time at the festival. If I can find a way to share that, I'm on Apple Music, but if I'm on a way find a way to share that with everybody, I will gladly post the link and we can all watch that playlist grow as we get closer to the festival, which
You're actually not the last. You're not the only person that's done that, so that's pretty interesting that people have been doing that.
awesome. Cool. Well, great minds think alike. There's a lot of smart people out there. Not to
Not a lot
toot
of
my
them.
own horn here, but
So hey, whenever you're doing a festival like this, do you take because you said that you're trying to work hard to make sure that everybody's having a good time. How does it work coordinating with the bands and their times? Because I can just imagine, like all these people are around. You got a lot of people that are like maybe buddies, bros, lots of people that know each other. And then it's like, we're going on now? Oh,
It's like
crap.
wrangling kittens.
I remember one time, and here's why I bring this up, is one time I went to a festival with a friend, and it was like the Gathering of the Sick. I think it was in like Albuquerque or something like that. And the bass player for one of the bands, because they were so close to the mountains in Colorado, and his girlfriend was with him, he was like, I want to go with my girlfriend to the mountains. And so then they're like calling him whenever they're going on, and they're like, where are you at? And he's like, we're like 25 minutes away. We're on our way back. And, I remember thinking, like, oh my gosh, that has to be like so nerve wracking for, people because you're trying to keep a schedule. And then it just made me think what's even more nerve wracking than the band is probably the person who's actually trying to keep everybody on schedule. So, anyway,
You know,
all that. Yeah.
I'm glad that you asked that question because at L&D Productions, we are very well known to cut your set if you decide that you want to play prima donna with us. Last year, we didn't really have. Honestly, we were a little bit more flexible at Gulf Coast last year because everybody was having such a good time. The owner is not really a stickler on closing at 2. So it wasn't really that bad, but there were a few bands that kind of deviated from the time slot. And I think the funniest thing that happened was I can't remember exactly which band it was, but it was one from California or Arizona. I can't remember which band it was, but I went up to them and I was looking at the set time and I'm like, I'm seeing my sound guy walk around looking like he's lost. So I'm like, what are you doing? He's like, I'm looking for the band. I'm like, which band? And he's like, this band. And he shows me the name on there. I'm like, oh, hell no. So I go over there and I see the guys hanging out. And I'm like, what are y'all doing? And he's like, nothing. We're just sitting here hanging out. I was like, you guys were supposed to be on stage sound checking like 15 fucking minutes ago. What are you doing? And he's like, oh, well, nobody told us. And I'm like, do you not have a copy of the set list? Do you not have a copy of the set times? He's like, no. I'm like, well, then that's your problem right there. I shouldn't have to be the one telling you to go sound check. Like, you should be keeping in line what time your set is. And then, the same guy went around telling everybody that I yelled at him. And I'm like, Okay, that was the mom coming out in me. That's not me being a bitch or anything. That's just me trying to keep everything on schedule and not, let these guys real like if I would have went up to them and been like, "Oh, okay, it's 15 minutes. It's time for you to go." No, get your fucking ass up on stage and go sound check or you're going to lose 10 minutes of your set time. So, it is what it is, right?
That's
Um
so funny. My dad, whenever he would come in the morning, he'd be like, "Get your ass out of bed," and I'd be like, "Hey, you been trying to wake me up? Have I not been getting up?" And he's like, "No, that was the first time I came in." I'm like, "Then why'd you yell at me, man?" And he's like, "Because you got up." He goes, "I don't have time to come in here 10 times and be like, Justin, just gotta wake up." So
Yeah, they're lucky I didn't come at them with some damn water and splash them. Like, hey,
yeah,
like
I know, right? Wake up.
I shouldn't have to tell you when your set time is. If like, because the way we had our transition set up was foolproof. There's absolutely no reason why anybody could have had any questions. I mean, you had 30 minutes to sound check while the other band has a 30-minute sound check out. I mean, set list outside. So, I was just kind of shocked that like even with there being a printout of all the set times, you guys are sitting there just chilling like, okay, well I guess y'all don't need to sound check. But yeah, that was one of those funny things. But Matt is well known for he will pull the plug on you. Like if you want to sit there and play around on stage and sound check for 30 minutes, be prepared to play one song and get the fuck off the stage. So that's just how we have to run our production.
Hey, it's fun, right? For these guys, they're doing what they love, and you're doing what you love. But at the end of the day, it's an event, and there's
Yeah.
so many people that are dependent on that schedule, and like it's a oiled machine, and you got to keep it running. So I
Yeah.
would say don't ever feel bad about that.
I mean, if this was any other big fest like MDF or Milwaukee Metal Fest, that's not gonna fly there.
For
They're
sure.
gonna cut into your set. They're not gonna give a shit. They're not gonna apologize for it. And what are you gonna sit there do? You're just gonna sit there and cry about it. And I'm not saying that we're as big as that, but we definitely hold our standards uh, as high as theirs because we want to have a good reputation for running a smooth, solid production. It's not always going to be perfect by any means, but we're going to strive to do as best as we can to make sure that it is as close as it can get. And I mean, you're either going to take that with a grain of salt or you can bitch and complain about it on Instagram. So, um, either way, I don't care because I'm not going to change and I'm going to run my production exactly the way I see fit. And so is my husband, and he's going to have my back if you decide to say anything about it. So,
Boom.
He's a big man.
he's getting bigger with all them tacos and tortillas, but you know what?
Yeah,
There's method to my madness. Make my
yeah,
man as big as you can so you can protect
that's
me
right.
when I
Yeah.
decide to talk some shit.
Uh huh. Hey,
Nice.
if he ever questions him, you just give him another taco.
Right?
Here, eat this.
Yeah, but I have to, give him a lot of credit because at the end of the day, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing. I know he gives me a lot of credit for running the production, but he literally throws me all the ingredients. So, and ingredients, I mean, as like connections. I wouldn't have met as many people as I've met without his involvement in the music scene and being extremely respected from a lot of different areas in the US and overseas. So the fact that I got to hang out with Diego and Angel from To Violently Vomit and Cephalotripsy in my living room, that's because of the people that he's gotten me involved with to be able to make those connections. So I have to give him a lot of credit and being extremely supportive in everything that I do with the music because at the end of the day, I'm not a musician, but I wanted to be a part of it as much as I possibly can. And this is how I make my effort and this is how I stay involved and do my part.
Hell yeah. So we have a very similar mission.
Hmm.
So we are I don't know, amateur musicians. We've played in the past together in bands, but by no means are we professionals. So
We
this is
were
our
we were
part.
probably more professional back then. than we are
Yeah,
now, just because it's been like so many years. But this was definitely our way to still be involved in the music without being a band. And one of the things that we liked about it was just kind of like you said, the relationships that you get to build along the way, because nobody's making millions. We've already said it. And so what makes it is our connections. That's how shows get set up in different areas. Word of mouth was most of the time how metal was, communicated for forever. I mean, and nowadays it's a little bit easier to access. But before, whenever all you saw was what was mainstream or what was on the radio, it was your friends that were showing up and they were like, "Have you heard this?" And it's because somebody showed them. And yeah, so I totally get all of that, and it's really cool. You talk about having a high expectation and kind of not worrying about stepping on the toes along the way to at least maintain the like just kind of your brand, and to make sure that other people still view it just the same as any other brand that's out there doing the exact same thing. And I mean, I think that's just smart, You can't sacrifice your quality or whatever, and you definitely can't be a people pleaser, because you have to be able to do what is needed in the moment in order for things to be successful. And that's what great leaders do. And you talk about Matt having all the support. Well, great leaders also have to have their support. I'm always like, great leaders are the ones like standing up on the ladders and they're like, "Hey, what's up there? What's so far?" And then you got all the people around them like holding that ladder to make sure it doesn't tip over for them, so holding them up in a way. And that's just how it has to be, because you can't do it all.
I mean, even I try going back to the professionalism thing. I mean, I even try to, you know, uphold my professionalism as something as simple as an email. I'm going to send grammatically correct emails. I'm going to proofread them before I send them. It's all about the little fine details that I want people to understand, that it's not just a hobby for me. Like at the end of the day, this is something that is going to end up leading to more than just putting on shows. This is our reputation. This is something that we're eventually going to turn into a brand. And we have some really big plans for L&D. So it's important for us to dot our I's and cross our T's now, because when it does get to a bigger level, or we achieve what we're ultimately looking to achieve, we'll have that reputation. Like, these people are solid. They know what they're doing. They're organized. They're very straightforward and easy to work with at the same time. So as long as I'm continuing to do that as of right now, then I feel like we're gonna do really good things in a short period of time. But yeah, that's basically what L&D Productions is about in a nutshell.
Well, I think you nailed it with the reputation too, because Brandon asked the question kind of what comes first, the chicken or the egg, and he was talking more about like what comes first, picking a date, or actually getting with the bands, finding out what the best date is. But it's probably the first one is going to be different than the second, and going to be different than the third and the fourth, because especially if you build a reputation as something that is respectful, and that people know you from being somebody who's like, oh yeah, if you go and they know how to run the show. Mm-hmm. It's not going to be as hard to find the talent, and the talent should become, like better and better. Like the shows, the quality of the shows, the talent that you hire, the facilities that you're using. I mean, all of it, right? It just all starts getting better and better and better, especially if you're continuing to maintain that higher level of quality. So, yeah, L&D. We're really excited for all that they've put out so far as the shows, the music that fans have gotten to see. We're excited for this Death Fest that's coming up. We know it's going to be amazing, and we're also excited for the other things that are to come, because it's just going to be great music brought to the people who want to hear it. And whether it's a Monday night, a Tuesday night, or whatever it is, like you said, people will drive miles around to go see the band that they want to go see. And if you're in Houston, you're used to driving anyway, right?
Another thing that I wanted to point out as well is that whenever you're actually booking, when you're actually in this business of booking shows, you got to be used to rejection. Yeah, because I mean, there's been some emails that I've sent out in the most professional manner ever, and they went completely silent. So that's another thing that is a downside to the music industry. Even if you have your heart set on somebody to come down and you're willing to make all the sacrifices to get them here, if they say no, it's no, and you just got to move on to the next one. I
You hear
tried
that,
to.
everybody? In metal, no means no, too.
Yeah, I tried to get Topsy here for Gulfcoast Deathfest, and yeah, that email went radio silent on me, and that was kind of crushing. But at the end of the day, they're gonna know who we are eventually, and I'm pretty sure my husband knows one of the guys in the band. So next time they're in town, I'll make sure he has words with him.
There you go.
Not that he has anything to do with it. It's all through management, of course. So that
And,
was a
and
joke.
and on that note, sometimes it's a numbers game, right? Like it's
Yeah.
just a matter of like, all right, it didn't work out this year, but yeah, you said
Yeah.
no, but I'm just gonna hit you up next year. You know.
Yeah. Oh, I'm definitely gonna try again, but I think it had a lot to do with the fact that they're going on tour. They're doing a Latin American tour. I'm pretty sure it's in Mexico, and that made sense. But hey, sorry, we're not available. Would have been great.
Yes. Well,
But
if there's anything I've learned in my day job is communication is a lost art. Like skill, like this just it's lacking, like big time. So not surprised that it would overflow into something like the metal community as well. It's just something that we've kind of been ruined with the quick messaging systems that we have now and all the shorthand. People just communication just isn't there anymore. Not in the way it once was. I think.
I wouldn't even, not to stand on this soapbox with you, but I sit here often and I wonder, is communication always the issue? Because every single job I've had, and they get everybody together for team building exercises and they do all this stuff that's supposed to like make us better. And the same thing that is said in every single one of these, and it's always communication. We're just not communicating. And I mean, every single one of these things that I've ever been in, that's what people say. And so one day I was like, what is communication? And so if you look it up, it's a transfer of information from one source to the other. And I was like, sounds so simple, but yet it's the biggest thing that we struggle with whenever and especially you get more people together, right? And we've talked about this in other podcasts. You get groups together that have like two band members, and they're like, "Oh yeah, we can be in a band together forever." But you start adding more and more people to the band, and then you got like other people's schedules and their personal lives, and we're all human, and so things just happen. And yeah, bands that have more people in it, you find that it's a little bit harder for them to keep things together because you got more people that you're having to count on.
that also goes back to what we were talking about is that metal doesn't pay the bills. So if your drummer can't get off of work on a Tuesday, that it's just it is what it is, and people are, especially in this one, they're in this particular genre. The drum machine is not always everyone's favorite act. So again, it comes down to people's schedule at the end of the day, and you have to be flexible with that. It is what it is. People have kids, people have lives, and most importantly, they have jobs. So I mean, at the end of the day, if a band turns me down because their bass player can't make it, then we'll try again next year.
Yeah,
For
just
sure.
wasn't meant to be, I guess.
Yep.
The good news is in today's time though, it's a lot easier to find subs. And I just noticed that. I noticed a lot of bands, it's okay bringing somebody else in, to play drums on a couple of shows because their drummer couldn't make it out to these
But it'll
shows.
cost you.
Yeah, it
It
will.
will
You're
cost.
you're
I'm
you're
telling you,
right.
these drummers for hires are not they're not cheap nowadays, especially
You know what?
finding a drummer is not
There you
easy.
did. You hit it right there. We can do anything we want for the right price, right?
Yeah. You want a drummer? I'll find you a drummer.
Yeah.
He'll be
You
ready
guys have the
tonight.
money?
Oh, that's too much.
So Jade, I have a question for you. Going back to the festival and stuff. You mentioned that you had a band and like your sound guy was looking for the band or whatever, like to come do the sound check thing, right? So is that somebody that you have to like go out and hire? Is it like one sound guy for like the whole festival, or do you have or do the bands bring their own guys sometimes?
No, I have my go-to sound guy. His name is Brent Champagne, and I know I am forgetting everybody's name and company on this episode, but hopefully everybody forgive me. But his name's Brent Champagne, and he has his own sound company where he provides full equipment and the personnel to run my shows. And almost every single time, ever since I met him last year, I mean, he has been on it. Like any single time I need a sound guy, sure, I got you covered.
Nice.
Last year, he provided me sound for the outside stage because the pub has inside PA already, and it runs on a its own mixer. And all I needed was somebody to run the inside stage, and then have a helper walk back and forth. And Brent supplied that, and he provided the outside stage sound, and it was chef's kiss, like unbelievable. Everybody loved playing outside. Um, the inside sounded good, but a lot of people were complaining about not being able to hear themselves, which that was a big issue that we weren't able to figure out at the time, which that was a learning curve for us. And this year we know what to do to make it sound better. But yeah, we have to outsource our sound guy because the pub does not have their in-house sound guy. It's just not busy enough to have somebody full-time doing that.
Yeah. Well, sounds like somebody's got a little ego problem, huh? Can't hear myself.
Yeah, but you don't want to say that out loud to them because then you're the bad guy. But
Well,
I
I'm
mean,
sure. I'm sure it helps to be able to hear what you're doing up there. So, but
yeah, I mean, being a smart ass and you'd be like, you don't know your fucking song or what? But
yeah,
like, it's like that's me being an asshole. But I don't mean that, of course. But it sounds funny to
sure.
sing out loud.
That's so
Nice.
funny because what I thought whenever you said that was I was like, when we couldn't hear ourselves playing in the garage, we just had to learn the song better. Is what we had to do. We had to know that I just can only listen to the snare drum in this song because it's the only thing I can hear.
I mean,
Hope the rest of it sounds like something.
I hope I'm playing with a guitarist. Every now and then you look at the guitarist.
headbanging. Who gives a shit? Like, hey, everybody had like. There was one band who literally bitched the fucking entire time he was on stage. I'm not gonna mention any names, but fuck that guy. He's like, I can't fucking hear myself. I'm like, yeah, well, everybody else can hear you just so fine. So quit your bitching and just play your little bass, please. Man, I might get a lot of shit for that one.
Dang! And for bass, nobody
But
could
you
hear
know
you
what?
anyway. Nobody
As
could hear
much
you
of an
anyway.
asshole as he was, it sounded great. Like, that band was phenomenal. And, the fact that he kept yelling at my sound guy made me, like, pissed off. But at the end of the day, I'm like, you guys are really good, so I'm going to let that one slide, But you can't really do
I,
much about it.
I can see how that could be frustrating. For you, like sitting there because you just got this going on. But sometimes
You
I
got to
say
make
this
it work.
about yeah. Sometimes I say this about other people too. Like just out in the world, is like he might have had something going on that day. It really didn't have anything to do with that, and he's just pissed about something.
Yeah.
Who
It is what it
knows?
is. I mean, honestly, like, it wasn't even that big of a deal. It was just really funny to tell that story. Because, like, a lot of people were having a hard time hearing themselves, but they did not bitch as out loud as he did. And whatever. I mean, everybody enjoyed their set, and they even got to play I think he's in like several bands, so he got to play on the outside stage too. So I mean, I don't. The outside stage was the one that everybody wanted to play on because it sounded so good. So, yeah, I wasn't really sure what he was so upset about at the end of the day, but it is what it is, and
You know what? But it illustrates, like, right there is an example, for everybody out there who's just like, oh, I'm going to throw together a show and I'm going to throw together, a festival, and it's going to be super easy because anybody can do this. It's like, maybe so, but can anybody put up with the attitudes, or can anybody put up with the issues that pop up? Like, we've dealt with some technical issues tonight even, and it was, we've had to roll with some things that we weren't wanting to do, but it's kind of that stress in the moment, right? And it's like, what am I going to do? And you got other people looking at you because you got to make a decision, and man, it can just be so nerve-wracking in the moment. And so, like, even just you telling the story, like, I could actually, like, feel it, because I was like, oh yeah, I know, I could just see it. You're trying to keep this thing rolling. You want people to not know that there's any hiccups along the way. For them, you want it to just be smooth, but here in the back, you're like, I'm pulling my hair out. And so, yeah.
I mean,
I believe it.
I didn't even mention this part, but last year, I was in the middle of planning my wedding. At the same time, I was planning Gulfcoast Deathfest 3. So I didn't sleep for a solid 6 months from the moment I took over the fest up until the day it was done. I was finally able to close my eyes and just sleep because I was constantly thinking about all the little small details, or, the time constraints of having to book flights at the last minute and it costing me an arm and a leg. So, yeah, people don't understand, like, how much actually goes into planning something like this. And my fest is not even as big as the majority of them out there. So if I'm stressing over something that's a 2-day fest with 21, 22 bands on the bill, I can just imagine what other people go through. And for somebody to be like, oh, well, they don't know what they're doing. You're damn right. I didn't know what I was doing last year. That was the first fest I ever put on. I didn't know what I was doing. But you know what? People still talked about it 2 weeks after this happened. I was still getting recognition. I was still getting thanked. And, fuck you guys. Like, you can say whatever you want. It was a great time. So, for a first timer, I think I pat myself on the back for it. And my husband thought I did a great job. Everybody thought I did a great job. And it wasn't perfect. But you learn from your mistakes, and you learn on how to move forward. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I think you're in good company. I think you're in good company with, like, everybody else out there that's just trying to do something great. They're running into problems. They don't know what they're doing. They're, hoping that everything goes perfectly and planned, and as smooth as it should. Also knowing that there's just no possible way it will. But how can you anticipate what's going to go wrong? And so, it's just, I always say that I always feel like I'm this big phony, and I'm like, everybody's going to figure out that I have no clue what I'm doing out here. Like, someday people are going to figure it out. But, one day I think I realized that, like, everybody's doing that. Everybody's doing the exact same thing, going like, oh, because you have to show up every day, right? You can't just, like, halfway do it. Whatever it is you're doing, you can't halfway do it. You got to actually show up for yourself every single day in order to be successful and to have the results that you really, really want to have. And I also heard somebody say one time that you can make hard choices and have an easier life, or you can make easier choices and have a harder life. And it was explained to me like doing laundry. Like, you can choose not to do your laundry or fold your laundry because that's the easier thing to do. But you're going to be digging through a pile of clothes every day looking for that clean shirt or whatever, and then it's going to be wrinkled, and you have to throw it in the dryer to unwrinkle it, and it's like, So, we all have to balance those, even with laundry.
I'm currently
watching
living
me?
that difficult life.
Brandon's laundry. Brandon's like, are you seeing my laundry over here?
Yeah, what's
I'm actually still in the laundry room right now, so I'm gonna need you to take the camera out of my house and stop watching us. 'Cause
Hey, actually, I want to do this, and I don't even know if anybody would ever, but if anybody's listening to this episode right now, let me know your most recent load of laundry, okay? Is it still in the washer, or I guess we'll say completed? Is it still in the dryer? Is it folded and put away? Is it in a pile on the couch? Like, where's it at? So tell us. Send us a message. Send it to Brandon on Facebook.
Yeah, please.
He wants to know where your laundry is.
Well, I can tell you where mine is right now.
All right, okay.
Outside of the dryer, completed, but just not folded. It's just
Not
in a
folded.
pile.
Brandon, where's your last load of laundry?
All right, mine's actually put away, but it was not put away for about 3 days. So
you did it before the show. You're like, I
I
knocked
did
it
it.
out.
I did it yesterday.
So that's
Actually,
all
I did
that
it last
matters.
night.
All right, so mine, I'm with you, Jade. I actually pulled a load out of the dryer this morning, and it went right into the recliner. It's right there by the laundry room in the den, and I dug through it real quick, found what I wanted to wear, and still
It's a
sitting there.
household thing, you know, like we rotate. I put my clothes in the washer, I put them in the dryer. Matt comes behind me, puts his clothes in the washer, takes my stuff out of the dryer, puts it in a pile in front of it, and puts his in there. And it's just a
Yep.
constant cycle. Our clothes never see the drawer. Ever.
Yeah.
So
That's so funny. That's so funny. It's hard. That's like one of the hardest things, I swear.
yeah,
For
it's
some
time
reason,
consuming.
I'm like, golly, and I still
Who
got to
has
do
that
that.
kind of time? I'm planning
Who's
a
got
fest
time?
here.
Some people are great at this, like Brando over
Trying to
here.
book some bands here. I can't be folding
Yeah,
shirts.
I'm talking to important people right now that nobody knows who they are. But I don't have time for this.
That is so funny. Well, hey, I was wondering, could I actually jump in, Brando, and do a couple of
Sure.
my little like popcorn questions? I always
Yeah.
I always like to ask like some random questions. They're usually not too related to music. It's just kind of what I think that well, here, I'll say them, and people will just learn a little bit more about you. Okay, so first off, if you could travel anywhere, where would it be? This doesn't have to be somewhere you haven't been before. If you've already been there and you're just like, I just got to go back, it was great. But just if you could travel anywhere right now, where would it go?
I'd go back to Belize. Belize
Okay.
was awesome.
The dollar goes far there.
Oh man, I don't remember a whole lot of being there because we were shit faced the entire time. But yeah, Belize would be it. So if you haven't been, I highly recommend. It's super cheap, and everybody's friendly and they speak English there. So
Heck yeah. Heck yeah.
Nice.
All right, you already actually answered this for me, but this was before we hit record. Early riser or night owl?
uh, early riser, I suppose, but not intentionally. I wake up early because I'm just too lazy to go to the gym after work. So I go in the morning, but if I was like in the best shape of my life and didn't have to go to the gym, I wouldn't get up till like 12.
So
Fair enough.
you would go to bed early and wake up late if you had the choice.
I would, yeah, I'm always gonna be I'm never a night owl, not anymore. I quit doing drugs and all of a sudden I became a night owl,
Non-night owl.
So I'm in bed by 7.
All right. Well, what is your go-to drive-through?
Taco Bell.
Taco Bell.
Taco Bell.
A little fourth meal? Anyone?
Cheesy gordita crunch with 2 chalupas and a soft taco any day.
Any day.
Nice. Being here in Houston, it seems like I was expecting you to go Whataburger. I was
Yeah,
like,
fuck
you know,
Whataburger. That's gross. Whataburger is
I hate
gross.
how long it takes to go to Whataburger. Every single one I go to, I'm like, what happened to fast food? Why is it taking 30 minutes
If
to
you
get
go
a
to
chicken biscuit?
if you find yourself in Haltom City, for any fest, or if you just, and I don't know why anybody would go to Haltom City if you're not going to see a death metal show, but Griff's Burgers. Griff's Burgers have completely changed my life to the point where we have considered opening a franchise here, and they shit on Whataburger. So
All right. I
highly
like that.
Go Griff.
I'm gonna go up there just to try it.
Hey, NSC Fest is in November. I can't remember the exact dates, but that will be your opportunity.
Which fest?
New Standard Elite. They are throwing a fest in November. It's a 2-day festival, kind of like TDF. It's 3 days. Yeah, it's 3 days, and it's run by Ryan Baker.
Okay.
But we'll be there, and I highly, highly recommend you go to that because there's going to be some killer ass bands on there.
All right. And Haltom, that's up near Dallas, isn't it?
Yeah, it's I don't know of any close cities nearby. I don't know a whole lot about Dallas, but I do know that Haltom City is up there. That's about it.
That works for me. Texas is too big. I don't know where anything is. I don't even know where most of the places around here are. People are like, Beaumont. I'm like, you mean Baytown? No, Beaumont. That's a different city. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, Brandon, he didn't even live in Houston. He lives in Missouri City. I was like, you don't live in Houston. He gave me his address. I was like, you lied. You lied to me.
I grew up in Cyprus my whole life here, so I just tell everybody I'm from Houston, so they think
I know how it is, right? Because they don't know about how all those little divisions and stuff work.
I'll tell people I'm from the hood all the time, and they'll be like, "Well, where?" I'm like, "Cyprus." We had gangs up there when I was a kid.
That's so funny. All right, I have just a couple more.
Okay.
All right.
Go for it.
If you had a pet parrot, what would you teach it to say?
Fuck.
That's all you gotta have.
That was fast.
That's so funny. All right, I know we said we're not rich and famous because we're hanging out in this metal world, but if you were rich and famous, what would your stage name be?
The Satanic Hispanic. That or Creamy Peanut Butter Panamanian, which is what my husband calls me.
That's so funny.
This is just a nickname that's stuck ever since, and then he started calling me that on Facebook, and my dad saw it one time, so I was like, you need to keep doing that.
That's so funny.
Makes for awkward conversation at the dinner table.
All right,
That's
so
awesome.
so then Hispanic. So do you like elote?
I mean, yeah. I mean, I'm not Mexican, but I can throw down on some Mexican food. Elote is good. I won't like go out of my way to order it though, unless I'm at the flea market.
Well, what about just regular corn on the cob? Are you eating it like in a line, or are you eating it in a row, or in a
I don't
circle?
know. Yeah, I'm a circle eater, and I work my way. Yeah.
Yeah, like in a spiral to the end.
Yeah, it just depends on what mood I am. Sometimes I'll eat it like this. It just depends.
That's so funny. That last corn on the cob question was just for fun. That's not even a question.
Yes, the other ones were serious business.
The other ones were serious. That was just a bonus funski. All right.
Yeah. Now y'all know everything that's important about me.
Hey, that's it right there, and
Yep.
and that's actually why those are fun, just because we always talk about the music and so much about what we're doing every day, and then it's just like, hey, what do we like to eat, or I don't know, it's fun. So, and that's kind of like a lesson in life, and a lot of what I heard you talking about today, talking about putting on shows, coordinating with bands, coordinating with venues, working with different sound people, because we don't have all of the knowledge of it all inside of our head, and so yeah, it takes a strong leader to be able to coordinate all that stuff. So, man, hats off to you guys, because we're really excited for what you guys are doing, and excited that it's going to be in the Houston area, because I know I'm in Oklahoma, but still, I've said it a million times on the show, maybe not a million, but I've said it a lot, that that's still hometown, for us.
40 times now, actually.
Is it only 40? It's only 40.
40
Well,
times.
I still view it as as hometown. So you can count it as 41,
I
buddy.
mean, even with band relationships, I mean, a lot of us consider people in OKC our family, you know, because we have such a tight knit community. You know, everybody knows everybody from, you know, from Houston all the way to Oklahoma. So
Yeah, and that's what's beautiful about metal too is just show up, and actually it's the only scene that I've ever been a part of where I've just felt completely welcomed and comfortable in. And so I tell that to people all the time, that never have really been into metal. I tell them, I'm like, just go to a show and get a vibe for what that culture's all about, and you will understand more and more. Like, because I thought Cannibal Corpse sucked too at first. When I first heard them, I was like, this is like pigs squealing around in mud, but after I started hanging out with people and that music became something that wasn't so foreign to me, I realized that my mind opened up to so many more possibilities, and those things were like game changers for me.
yeah.
And it takes those moments, and I remember those moments sitting in art class and people trying to show me that music and just not understanding yet.
I
But
really, I really wish I would have told this story earlier on. But the way I actually got really a lot more deeper into like brutal death metal as a whole, um, I was I barely started dating Matt at the time. I don't even think we were dating, but I do remember laying down on his couch just being completely hungover. I hadn't even slept yet. I was partying all night. I came over and I'm laying down on his couch and he's got his little playlist going and he's playing Visceral Discourse, he's playing Amputated, Parasitic Ejaculation, and all at the time I didn't know all those names yet, and I'm just turning around every time I'm about to fall asleep and I'm like, who's that? So it was basically just like a reintroduction, and before all that happened I was kind of into deathcore. I, I shouldn't have admitted that out loud, but Matt was the one that actually got me really heavy into death metal. So I have to thank him a lot for that. And again, like it's been a short amount of time, so to be as heavily involved and known and respected in different areas is like it's honestly a dream come true for me. So I have a little bit of a similar story as far as feeling accepted in the community.
absolutely. So everybody, hear that? Drop what you're doing right now and run to a metal show, because we could all use a little bit more
Not just any
community.
metal show. Run to the Gulf Coast
Gulf
Deathfest.
Coast Death Fest.
Or
March 14th and 15th.
There you go.
Yep.
before we close out, I would like to ask just a couple of kind of specifics questions, real quick. Just like the little details, like so the festival is the 14th and 15th of March, and the 14th is a Friday. Is that going to be like 11 a.m. to midnight on Friday? Like what
Nope.
are the hours that we're looking at on each day for the festival?
Last year, well, the way we have it mapped out is that we'll have less bands on Friday than we do because we consider Friday more of like a pre-fest kind of thing. And I think last year it started at 5 and ended at 2.
Okay.
And then, so it wasn't too early, not too late in the day, because again, like there's a lot of people who can't get off on that day, so we try to like at least make sure that we have a good crowd going for our openers. And then on Saturday, it will probably start around 12 or 1. It just depends on how the set times work out.
Awesome. No, I think that's it's a really good way to do it. Like I mean, I'm probably gonna have to work that Friday. So
Yeah, I'm gonna have to work that Friday. So as soon as I get off of work, I'm tuck-tailing straight to the pub, and that's gonna
hell
be
yeah.
a full day of adventure for me. And I'm not looking forward to it, considering how much I love sleep.
I'm with you there. So I was just curious, how familiar are you with there's a few other sponsors on the flyer, like for the show. I was just wondering if, are you familiar with them? Like, do you know much
Yeah,
about what they do and who they are?
I picked everybody. Well, not necessarily picked everybody, but I wanted to be more selective of the people that we put on the flyer this year. I wanted to made sure that they made a contribution this year because a lot of people were on the flyer. And I know it's standard practice to include like their labels and everything, but I wanted to make sure we made the best use of our flyer for people who actually contributed to the fest this year. Liberated Magazine is run by Brandon Castaneda, which is a really good, well-known photographer here in Houston. He's going to be providing a lot of the coverage for the set for the fest itself, and yeah, he's just gonna be taking really good pictures, and he might do a few interviews because he runs the magazine, of course. And then we have Seven Cents Printing, which is based out of DFW, and they do a lot of the merch for bands. They do a phenomenal job, and they were here last year as well. Doom and Groom was set up last year. It's a guy that I think he lives out of Colorado, and he provides tattoo care and beard care. And the last one, I can't remember the last one that's on the flyer.
Well, I know there have been some updates to the
Ossuary
flyer. What is it?
Ossuary Industries. That's run by my friend Brian Farrell. He is like he's an OG in this scene, and he used to put on building temples across Texas or something like that. It's a fest of his that, I mean, he's one of the best as far as booking bands and putting on incredible festivals. So I'm really interested in seeing his setup this year. I'm really happy that he decided to be a part of it because, again, he's just like OG death metal. And he's really well known in the scene as well. So I'm really excited to have him here. But that's a little bit of background of our sponsors. I know everybody very intimately, and I wanted to make sure that their contribution was well known on the flyer. So that was a big part of who I picked to be on the flyer.
Awesome. Well, thank you for all that. And also, on behalf of the Metal Block, thank you for letting us be a part of it. So we're all super excited about it.
Yeah.
Just to have our name on there, and I can't wait to go and experience it and hang out with everybody. So it's going to be a blast.
I'm really excited for any outcome that happens for you guys because I like to be a part of seeing people's growth, especially businesses that are barely starting. I mean, even it's not just bands that are up and coming. I'm talking about people who are starting their label. Last year, I mean, New Standard Elite is not new by any means, but I mean, I feel like him coming out and setting up a table gave even a little bit more exposure than he already has. So I'm happy for you guys to be a part of it because I want you guys to be able to meet different people and have people come on your podcast that you're interested in interviewing. So I'm really happy to have you guys at the fest.
Awesome. Thank you for that. That's awesome.
Yeah, thanks. It's going to be great, and I know that we're going to be giving away a few things too. So we really want people to stop by that booth, and like I said, I probably won't be there, but stop by the booth and chat with Brando. He will be there live and in person, and he'd love to talk with you. We've met some really cool people at shows. I mean, everybody we've met at shows has been great, but I mean, like, connections related to the podcast specifically. Mm-hmm. We've had some some good connections. We've met some good people. We've met some really cool bands that have been able to come on the show and hang out with us too. So super excited for it, most definitely.
Now, did Matt tell y'all who our question mark band is?
So that was going to be my last question leaving here was if
Off the record only.
I had a feeling you can't tell us, but I was wondering, are there any hints that you could drop without giving it away?
I have previously dropped a hint. It's in a previous post of mine. I can't tell you which one it is, but if you dig a little deeper into my Instagram, you'll find it. It's not necessarily a surprise. It's just that contractually they're not allowed to announce it until after a certain date. So we're just being respectful towards that. It's not necessarily like, oh my God, like I can't believe you got these guys, because I don't want, the last thing I want is for us to announce them and they'll be like, oh, it's just them. Like that's, but like it's not a surprise, and I hope that didn't come off like it's not a big deal because they are a big deal. But I'm saying that it's not necessarily a surprise. We just can't announce them.
Sure.
But off
No,
the
that's
record, I'll be able to tell you who it is, and you can let me know if this is something that you'll have interested in setting up a, an interview with, and we could see what we can
okay.
work out there.
Awesome.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. You can even just whenever we'll close out real quick and just hang out for one more quick second before
Yeah.
we get off. It'll make sure everything uploads, and then we'll just have a few little last things to chat about. But having said all that, this has been great to see just a little bit of a different side because we're always talking with the musicians and we're getting a chance to chat about what it's like for them to go around and tour and to play at different places or to make a video or to write a new song or to come out with that new album. And that's all fine and great, especially because for every band the story is different. It's not like it's the same story that's recycled over and over because everybody, it's a different journey that we all take to get to where we're at. And that's what makes this in any art really so cool is because it's just it's a reflection of our experiences and what we know. And so that's all like super super awesome. But to actually get to see a side of it that isn't the musician, that isn't the band, and how it all kind of comes together, because this isn't just we woke up one day and there was a spot for that band to play. Like there is a lot of time, a lot of coordination, a lot of communication that has to go into this kind of thing in order for it to be successful. And I really don't think that people could truly understand how much, like I know I truly couldn't. It's without actually doing, right? You just really, really don't know. But, we really appreciate just showing us a little bit of that because, there's a lot to it. And it's been really cool to just see, not only some of the things you've been able to celebrate, but some of the struggles that you've seen, some of the stubbornness of dealing with just musicians in general, because musicians are they're
Yeah.
never on time. They know how they want it, and you better be able to do it that way. And it's like, are you living on planet Earth? Like,
Yeah, and the thing is, like, I don't want to speak for every promoter, but I feel like we all share the same sentiment. A lot of us could probably feel like, it's an underappreciated uh, part of the job, right? Like, people don't understand that we're going to lose more money more often than we gain anything in return. I have lost more money doing this, but again, I've had such really great turnouts and created such amazing memories. It doesn't matter to me at the end of the day. As long as everybody's paid and happy and the L&D reputation is on point, I don't care. So, again, like it's a different side as being a promoter and being on the business side of the aspect because you hear from musicians all day long. And as much as I would have loved to have been a musician in my past life, that's just not for me. It wasn't my path. So I'm going to do my part and make sure that we keep extreme music alive here in Houston. And this is how I contribute. So,
well, whether you're writing it or you're bringing it together, you're still a part of it. And thanks for letting us know a little bit about what's happening in the shadows that people don't see. And this has really been a blast. I'd be really excited too to just talk more about what L&D has coming in the future and stuff. So maybe after the Deathfest, after Gulfcoast has happened and you're on to other things, maybe we can get back on and talk about some other stuff that might be
Absolutely.
happening. So but thanks for joining us tonight. We're so excited about the festival. Thank you for all you're doing for heavy metal and to bring the bands together. And we couldn't
Thank
be
you.
happier to hear a little bit of it. And so I guess with that being said, we got to say goodnight to everybody. And we hate to go. I say this at like most all of my episodes or all of our episodes. I'm always like, "Aw, we got to go," But we got to wrap it up sometime because everybody, like you said, we got to go to work tomorrow. So,
Yeah.
well, thanks again. I'll say it that last time. And Metal Block over and out. Everybody, have a great night. Thanks for joining us.
Thank
See
you.
ya.